The shimmering curtain of the viewport in Alara's room was set to twilight. Not the purple-pink fade of a planetary sunset, for Ethelgard Station orbited a gas giant far too grand and luminous for such gentle displays, but a soft internal glow that mimicked Earth's forgotten dusk. Small, embedded fiber optics traced constellations across the ceiling, their familiar patterns, Orion, Cassiopeia, Lyra, a comforting constant in the vast swirling dark. Alara, a girl of 7 cycles, lay tucked beneath a quilt, woven with bioluminescent threads that pulsed faintly with the rhythm of her own breathing. Her datapad, usually a portal to simulated zero-G adventures or stories of ancient Earth, lay forgotten on her bedside table, its screen dark. Tonight, her gaze was fixed on the real display beyond the smart glass viewport. Ethelgard Station was a marvel of human ingenuity, a colossal ring of interconnected habitats and research modules, a self-sustaining city in the black. From Alara's window, she could see the distant hazy curve of the gas giant Viridia, its vibrant emerald and sapphire bands swirling in slow-motion majesty. But tonight, Viridia was not the main attraction. Tonight, the cosmos was putting on a different show. A faint, ethereal glow, unlike anything Alara had ever seen, was beginning to bloom at the very edge of the deep space beyond the station. It was a delicate wash of iridescent light, like spilled nebular paint, slowly, steadily expanding. Whispers of violet gold and a deep, pulsing cerulean danced within its growing form. It wasn't close enough to be alarming, but it was certainly close enough to be captivating. Her door chimed softly, and the twilight curtain brightened just enough to reveal the familiar silhouette of her mother, Captain Anya Sharma. Anya was tall, with a bearing that spoke of command and a mind that hummed with the calculations of star charts and energy signatures. But when she looked at Alara, her eyes, usually focused and sharp, softened into pools of warmth. "Still awake, my little star sleeper?" Anya's voice was a low, comforting hum, a stark contrast to the crisp tones she used on the bridge. She crossed the room, the soft thud of her boots barely audible on the recycled composite floor. The scent of ozone and synthetic jasmine, Anya's signature, followed her. Alara sat up, pushing the glowing quilt down. "It's starting, Mama?" "The Starfall L." Her voice was a hushed whisper, filled with a child's awe and a touch of something else. A gentle excitement, a hint of the unknown. Anya settled on the edge of Alara's bed, her uniform tunic shimmering faintly in the low light. She reached out and brushed a stray curl from Alara's forehead. "It is. A little earlier than predicted and a little brighter." Her gaze drifted to the viewport, a flicker of professional curiosity mingling with her maternal tenderness. The Starfall L. It was a phenomenon unique to their sector of the galaxy, a recurring cosmic ballet. Every 8 cycles, a specific cloud of protostellar dust, rich in exotic minerals and supercooled gases, drifted through the outer reaches of the Viridia system. When it intersected with the solar winds of Viridia's twin suns, and the radiation from the gas giant itself, it would ignite in a breathtaking display of bioluminescence. Usually it was a distant spectacle, a shimmering backdrop to the station's daily life, a gentle reminder of the universe's beauty. But this cycle, the energy readings from the approaching Starfall L were off the charts. The station's long-range sensors had been buzzing for days, and the bridge had been a hive of activity. "Is it different this time?" Alara asked, echoing Anya's unspoken thought. She had only seen one Starfall L before, a memory of gentle, distant sparkles. This felt bigger. Anya hesitated, then gave a reassuring squeeze to Alara's hand. "Every starfall is unique, darling. Like snowflakes, no two are exactly alike. This one just seems to have a little more sparkle than usual." She kept her tone light, but Alara, with the keen intuition of a child, sensed the subtle shift in her mother's composure. "Commander Jian said it was anomalous," Alara reported, mimicking the stern, precise voice of Anya's second-in-command. "He said the spectral signature was fluctuating beyond expected parameters." Anya chuckled, a warm melodic sound. "Commander Jian likes his big words. And he's right, of course. We're observing some fascinating new data points. Nothing to worry about, though. Just a little more for the science teams to study." She leaned in, her voice dropping conspiratorially. "Perhaps it's a new kind of space algae blooming in the cosmic dust." Elara giggled, picturing tiny, glowing space plants. Can we go to the observation deck, Mama? Really close? Anya sighed, a soft, wistful sound. Not tonight, my love. The bridge is a bit busy, and the observation deck is, well, it's on the opposite side of the station right now. But don't worry, the view from here is just as good, if not better. Look at it. The distant glow had intensified. Now distinct streamers of light, like celestial jellyfish tentacles, began to unfurl from the main mass. They were not solid, but patterns of light and shadow, constantly shifting, dissolving, and reforming. It was as if the universe itself was breathing out shimmering, luminous clouds. Elara pressed her face closer to the viewport. It looks like a giant, glowing jellyfish, she whispered, her breath fogging the glass. A very, very big jellyfish, Anya agreed, pulling Elara gently back. And it's quite a distance away, remember. What you're seeing is the light it emits, traveling across millions of kilometers. The station, Athelgard, had been positioned to offer optimal viewing of the Starfall L. Its primary function was deep space research, but its secondary, equally vital role was to serve as a home. Every habitat module was designed with generous viewports, ensuring that its inhabitants, from the youngest children to the oldest scientists, never forgot the majesty of their cosmic home. Elara's room, a cozy haven of soft light and personal treasures, was no exception. Its smart glass viewport offered a panoramic sweep of the void, a canvas for the universe's endless artistry. Tonight, that canvas was ablaze. As Elara watched, a new element appeared. Tiny, pinprick lights, like miniature stars, began to detach from the main body of the Starfall L. They drifted in graceful, unhurried arcs, swirling and dancing as if caught in an unseen current. Each one pulsed with its own unique hue, a delicate emerald, a deep sapphire, a brilliant ruby, creating a living, breathing tapestry of light. They weren't falling, not in the traditional sense, but drifting, meandering with an almost sentient grace. Are those tiny stars? Elara asked, her voice barely audible. Anya leaned in, her own gaze fixed on the spectacle. Not stars, darling. Just tiny pockets of that cosmic dust catching the light in a special way. Like fireflies, but much, much bigger. She paused, then added, almost to herself, or perhaps something else entirely. The fireflies were growing in number, spiraling outwards, creating intricate patterns against the backdrop of the Starfall Lee's larger glow. They seemed to be moving with a purpose, a slow, deliberate dance. Mama, Elara said, her hand reaching out to the cold glass. They're beautiful. They truly are, Elara. Anya agreed, her voice laced with a genuine wonder that belied her earlier professional caution. The sheer, unadulterated beauty of the phenomenon was undeniable. Even a seasoned starfarer like Anya, who had witnessed countless cosmic marvels, felt a familiar tug of awe. Suddenly, a soft chime from Anya's wrist comms interrupted the serene moment. Her face, still illuminated by the Starfall Lee's glow, tightened almost imperceptibly. Captain Sharma here. A tinny voice, Commander Jian's, crackled from the comm. Captain, preliminary analysis of the Starfall Lee's trajectory has been updated. It's accelerating and shifting course. Predicted closest approach is now within the station's safe proximity zone, approximately T-800. Anya's jaw tightened. 8 hours. That was far too close. The safe proximity zone was a buffer, a vast empty region of space around the station where no known cosmic debris or phenomena were supposed to enter. It was a sterile perimeter, designed to protect Athelgard from any unforeseen impact or energy surge. What's the energy signature reading? Anya asked, her voice calm, but with an underlying steel that Elara recognized. Fluctuating wildly, Captain. Predominantly Class L7 gamma radiation, but with unusual spikes across the visible and ultraviolet spectrum. And we're detecting a resonance, a harmonic frequency, almost like a song. John's voice was tinged with an uncharacteristic bewilderment. A song. Elara, still listening intently, frowned. What did space sound like? She knew it was mostly silent. A vacuum. Anya stood, her gaze sweeping over the viewport once more, her expression now a blend of fascination and concern. Maintain full sensor lock, Commander. Deploy auxiliary deflectors to stand by. And prep the long-range spectroscopy array for immediate deployment. I'll be on the bridge in 5. Keep me updated on any further shifts. Aye, Captain. The comms clicked off. Anya turned back to Alara, her smile a little less bright than before. Mama has to go to work now, my love. Just for a little while. Alara pushed herself up, her eyes wide. Is it dangerous? Anya knelt by the bed, her hands resting gently on Alara's shoulders. No, darling, not dangerous. Just unexpected. The universe likes to surprise us sometimes. And it's Mama's job to make sure Ethelgard is ready for any surprises. We'll just be rerouting some energy, adjusting a few shields, making sure everything stays perfectly safe. She brushed Alara's hair back again. You stay here. Watch the show from your window. It's the best seat in the house. And tomorrow, we'll talk all about it. Alara nodded slowly, a tiny knot of worry forming in her stomach. She trusted her mother implicitly, but she also knew the subtle tells in Anya's voice, the slight tension in her shoulders, that meant more than just interesting. Will you be back before I fall asleep? Alara asked, her voice small. Anya hesitated. I might be a little late tonight, sweetie. But I'll check on you. And Nova will be here. As if on cue, a small spherical drone, no bigger than Alara's fist, drifted silently from its charging alcove by the door. Nova. Alara's personal AI companion, programmed with a calming voice and an encyclopedic knowledge of bedtime stories. Its single optical sensor, usually a soft blue, pulsed with a gentle green. Good evening, Alara. I am here to ensure your comfort and safety, Nova's synthetic voice chimed. Perfectly modulated to soothe. Would you like me to project a specific dreamscape, or perhaps read from your favorite story cycle? Alara shook her head. No, Nova, I just want to watch the Starfall. Anya kissed Alara's forehead, the scent of ozone and jasmine comforting. That's my brave little explorer. I love you, Starlight. I love you too, Mama. With a final lingering look, Anya stood and walked towards the door. The twilight curtain brightened again as she exited, plunging Alara's room back into the soft internal glow and the overwhelming light from the viewport. Alara was alone, save for Nova, who floated silently by her side. The Starfall L continued its mesmerizing, unsettling performance. The jellyfish tentacles of light had grown broader, more defined, rippling with an internal motion that seemed impossibly organic for a cosmic dust cloud. And the fireflies, those tiny luminous specks, were now closer, much closer. They were still too distant to resolve into anything concrete, but their individual pulses of light were more distinct. They were no longer just drifting. They seemed to be moving in complex, interlocking patterns, forming temporary geometric shapes before dissolving and reforming. It was like a silent, intricate dance, choreographed by an unseen hand. Nova, sensing Alara's focused attention, projected a small, transparent overlay onto the viewport glass. It displayed basic telemetry, estimated distance, energy output, and a spectral analysis. Alara couldn't understand the numbers, but she could see the fluctuating graphs, the lines spiking and dipping. Nova, Alara asked, her voice hushed. What does Class L7 gamma radiation mean? Class L7. Gamma radiation indicates a high-energy emission, typically associated with supernovae remnants or active stellar processes, Nova replied. Its voice devoid of emotion, yet informative. However, in this context, the source is anomalous. Anomalous, Alara repeated. That was Commander Jian's word. The fireflies were now so numerous they formed a glittering swarm, a nebula of miniature lights, all moving in concert. And as they drew closer, Alara began to perceive something new, something that sent a shiver of wonder down her spine. Each of these luminous specks, when it pulsed with a brighter flash, seemed to cast a fleeting, intricate shadow. Not a dark shadow, but a shadow of deeper color, a fleeting imprint of form. It was as if each firefly was a tiny, complex object, refracting the Starfall Lay's light in a unique way. One of the fireflies, slightly larger and brighter than the others, detached from the main swarm. It began a slow, deliberate trajectory directly towards Athelgard Station. It wasn't moving fast, but it was coming. Elara watched, mesmerized as it approached. It was still kilometers away, but its light was growing, its individual pulses becoming more distinct, almost rhythmic. Thump, thump, titch. Thump, thump. Windbell. It was the cadence of her own heart, thrumming in her ears. As the single firefly drew nearer, Elara could see it was not amorphous. It had a structure. A delicate, crystalline lattice, pulsing with internal light. It was symmetrical, beautiful, and utterly alien. It rotated slowly, revealing facets that glittered with every color of the spectrum. It was not a firefly. It was a craft. Or a creature. Or something in between. And it was heading straight for them. Nova's optical sensor turned from green to a soft, pulsing amber. Anomaly detected. Object entering class Gamma proximity zone. Origin unknown. Commander Jian is being notified. Elara didn't need Nova to tell her. She could see it. The crystalline object, no bigger than a small shuttle, was now close enough that its individual pulses of light seemed to reach out and touch her. It was bathed in the Starfall Lay's ethereal glow, but it also emitted its own, stronger, more focused light. It was not a part of the Starfall L. It had emerged, Yfried. It. And as it drifted closer, Elara realized that the song Commander John had mentioned, the harmonic frequency, was not just an energy signature. It was a subtle vibration. A deep, resonant hum that was now beginning to permeate the very structure of Athelgard Station. It wasn't loud, not jarring, but a pervasive thrumming that she could feel in her bones. The object, the crystalline anomaly, slowed its approach, hovering just beyond the station's outer defenses, a silent, glittering sentinel. Its facets continued to pulse, and Elara could almost imagine the rhythm of its light matching the strange deep hum that now filled her room. She pressed her hand against the viewport, feeling the cold glass, the faint vibration. Nova, Elara whispered. What is it? Nova's amber light pulsed faster. Unidentified. Energy signature matches Starfall LE emissions but with a unique, organized modulation. Attempting communication protocols. No response. The object hovered, shimmering, its presence radiating both immense beauty and an undeniable profound mystery. It was a beacon, a herald. Elara felt no fear, only an overwhelming sense of wonder, and a deep, unshakable curiosity. The Starfall L was no longer just a distant light show. It had sent them a visitor. And the universe, Elara realized, was much, much bigger than she had ever imagined. The hum grew stronger, a silent song reaching out to her across the void. And she, a small girl on a vast station, was listening. The hum wasn't just in the air anymore. It vibrated through the deck plates, a deep, resonant chord that Elara felt in her bones. It was a melody without notes, a presence without form, but undeniably there. The immense visitor, which had seemed so distant moments ago, was now a colossal silhouette against the velvet blackness, growing larger with every beat of Elara's excited heart. It wasn't moving like a ship she'd ever seen, no thruster flares, no telltale engine glow. It simply expanding, as if space itself was folding to accommodate its majestic arrival. Her dad, usually so composed, had unconsciously tightened his grip on her shoulder, his knuckles white. His eyes, usually crinkling with a ready smile, were wide with a mixture of professional assessment and sheer, unadulterated awe. By the void, he whispered, his voice hoarse. It's not slowing down. But it wasn't slowing, or rather, it was disintegrating. Instead of a sudden braking maneuver, the visitor seemed to simply unfold into being directly in front of Starfall L's primary observation deck. Its surface, previously a distant shimmer, now resolved into intricate patterns of light that pulsed with a soft internal luminescence. Not harsh, artificial light, but something organic, like bioluminescent algae on a deep-sea creature, or the slow, rhythmic breathing of a living thing. It was immense, easily dwarfing the station itself, a floating cathedral of light and shadow, its form vaguely crystalline yet fluid, like a colossal, multifaceted jewel hewn from starlight and cosmic dust. The hum reached a crescendo, a silent roar that thrummed through the very molecules of the station. Then it stopped. Abruptly. The sudden silence was deafening, a physical pressure that made Alara's ears pop. In that instant, every light on Starfall L flickered, dimmed, and then surged back to full power, as if the station had taken a deep, shuddering breath. Then, a new light bloomed from the visitor. Not from one point, but from its entire surface, a gentle diffuse glow that bathed Starfall L in an ethereal radiance. It was a light that didn't cast shadows, but instead made every surface it touched seem to glow from within. Alara looked down at her own hands, and they seemed to shimmer with the same soft, inner light. "Dad," she breathed, her voice barely a whisper. "It's beautiful." Her dad didn't answer immediately. He was scanning the readouts on his wristcom, his brow furrowed. "No energy signature," he murmured, more to himself than to her. "No propulsion. No known material composition. It's impossible." His voice held a note of disbelief, but also a dawning respect. "Station systems are stable though. No immediate threat detected. Just unprecedented." Just then, a crisp, urgent voice crackled over the station-wide comms. "All personnel, this is Commander Valerius. Remain calm. We have an unknown contact in close proximity. Level 1 alert. All non-essential personnel to designated safe zones. Engineering teams to primary power conduits. Medical teams on standby. Science division. Prepare remote probes. Repeat. Level 1 alert." Alara felt a gentle tug on her arm. "Come on, sweetie," Dad said, his voice now regaining its familiar calm, though his eyes still held that flicker of wonder. "We need to head to the family residential quadrant. It's designed to be the safest place on the station." Alara hesitated, her gaze fixed on the magnificent visitor. It felt wrong to leave, to turn her back on something so utterly new and mesmerizing. It was like being called away from the most incredible story, just as it was beginning. "But Dad, what if it needs something? What if it wants to talk?" Her dad knelt, bringing his face close to hers, his eyes gentle but firm. "We don't know what it wants, Alara. And we have to follow protocol. Safety first. But I promise you, as soon as we know more, I'll tell you everything. And I'll be right there, working to understand it." He squeezed her hand. "This is big, Alara. Bigger than any of us." Reluctantly, Alara allowed herself to be led away from the viewport, but her eyes kept darting back, trying to memorize every shimmering facet of the colossal visitor. Even as they moved through the curving corridors of Starfall L, the soft, shadowless light from the unknown entity permeated the station's interior, filtering through the reinforced windows, making the familiar walls glow with an otherworldly hue. The usual bustling sounds of the station were replaced by a tense hush, punctuated only by the distant, muffled voices of officers over the comms and the hurried footsteps of personnel. They reached their residential module, a cozy, brightly lit space that usually felt like a warm hug. Tonight, it felt like a temporary shelter, a place to wait while the universe unfolded just outside their door. Dad activated the module's internal comms, patching into the station's executive channel. He wasn't a high-ranking officer, but as a senior engineering lead, he had access to critical information. Alara curled up on the soft cushions of the couch, a blanket pulled tight around her, though she wasn't cold. Her gaze was drawn to the module's small porthole, usually showing a distant starfield. Now, it was filled with the soft, persistent glow from the visitor, a silent promise of the unknown. "Commander Valerius," a tense voice reported over the comms, "remote probes are unable to get within 500 meters. They're dissolving, not violently, sir. Just molecular disaggregation. The material simply ceases to be." A collective gasp went through the channel, audible even to Alara. "Confirmed." Another voice added, "Gravimetric readings are fluctuating wildly. Energy readings are non-existent. It's like a void that's also radiating light. It defies every physical law we know." Alara's dad ran a hand through his hair, a troubled look on his face. "Dissolving?" he muttered. That's new. But Ilara wasn't afraid. Dissolving sounded gentle, not violent. It sounded like transformation. She remembered the feeling, the hum, the silent song. It didn't feel threatening. It felt like an invitation. Suddenly, a new phenomenon. From the colossal visitor, a single beam of light, pure and unwavering, extended toward Starfall L. It wasn't a destructive beam, nor an aggressive one. It was thin, like a laser pointer, but intensely bright, a needle of concentrated starlight. It pierced the void, bypassing the station's outer shields, which were, Dad's comms reported, completely unaffected, and came to rest directly on the primary observation deck, the very spot where Ilara and her dad had stood moments before. What in the void? Commander Valerius's voice was tight with disbelief. It's targeting the observation deck. Defensive screens up, I repeat. Full defensive screens. Screens are up, sir, a frantic voice replied. But it's passing right through. No resistance, no impact. It's like, it's not even there, but it is. Ilara watched, mesmerized. The beam pulsed, a rhythmic beat of light, almost like a heartbeat. It wasn't causing any damage, wasn't burning or melting. It was simply ethering, a column of pure light connecting the visitor to Starfall L, and then, slowly, within the confines of that light beam, something began to coalesce. It was faint at first, like heat haze or a shimmering mirage, but it grew clearer, taking on form. It wasn't a solid object, but a holographic projection, intricately detailed and perfectly rendered. It depicted a star map, but not one Ilara recognized. It was vast, showing nebulae, star clusters and galaxies, all interconnected by shimmering lines of light. And at the very center of this grand tapestry, a single pulsating dot. It's a map. Dad breathed, leaning closer to the comms unit, his earlier fear replaced by intense intellectual curiosity. It's showing us where it's from. Or where it's going. The map zoomed in, focusing on the pulsating dot. As it magnified, the dot resolved into a complex star system, with multiple suns and a swirling array of planets, some bathed in vibrant colors, others shrouded in storm clouds. One particular planet, a jewel of deep blues and greens, pulsed with the same soft light as the visitor itself. Then, the projection shifted. The map dissolved, replaced by images. Not static pictures, but fluid, moving scenes. Ilara watched, captivated, as landscapes unfolded before her eyes. Towering crystalline forests that sang with the wind, oceans of liquid light, cities built into the hearts of asteroids, beings that shimmered and flowed like living aurorae. These beings weren't humanoid, or even vaguely animalistic. They were pure energy, or perhaps light itself, coalescing into forms that danced and communicated through intricate patterns of color and movement. They built, they explored, they seemed to live in harmony with their impossible environment. The images were accompanied by a silent symphony, a feeling rather than a sound, that spoke of peace, of deep knowledge, of a universe teeming with life beyond human comprehension. It was a story told in light and emotion. A journey through a civilization that seemed to exist on an entirely different plane of reality. They're showing us their home, Ilara whispered. Tears pricking her eyes, not from sadness, but from the sheer overwhelming beauty of it all. They're showing us who they are. Her dad was speechless, gripping the comm unit like a lifeline. Even the usually unflappable Commander Valerius was silent, the comms channel unnervingly quiet, save for the occasional ragged breath. Everyone on Starfall L, it seemed, was watching this silent, magnificent display. The presentation lasted for what felt like an eternity, but was probably only a few minutes. It showcased not just their home, but their journey, their philosophy, their gentle exploration of the cosmos. It was a message of peace, of shared wonder, of an understanding that transcended language. Finally, the images faded, dissolving back into the single pure beam of light. The beam itself then began to contract, slowly, gracefully, pulling back into the colossal visitor. As it withdrew, a new light emerged, not a beam, but a soft glowing sphere, about the size of Ilara's head. It detached from the visitor and drifted slowly towards Starfall LL. It's sending something. A scientist's voice finally broke the silence on the comms, filled with a mixture of terror and exhilaration. It's approaching the observation deck. No hostile intent detected. Energy signature is coherent. Stable. The sphere of light passed through Starfall L's hull as if it weren't there, drifting silently down the curving corridor towards the residential modules. Elara felt a strange pull, a tingling sensation in her fingertips. She knew, with an absolute certainty that defied logic, that it was coming for she. Her dad, sensing her intuition, tried to hold her back. Elara, wait, we don't know what that is. But she was already on her feet, drawn by an irresistible force. The sphere of light, a miniature sun, paused outside their module door. The door, usually controlled by a retinal scanner, shimmered and slid open without a command. The sphere floated into their module, bathing the room in its gentle, warm glow. It pulsed softly, almost like a living heart. Elara felt no fear, only a profound connection, a recognition. It was the hum, the silent song, made visible. "It's not hurting anything, Dad," she said, her voice calm and clear, eyes wide with wonder. She reached out a hesitant hand. Her dad, though clearly apprehensive, saw the absolute lack of threat in the sphere, and more importantly, the utter lack of fear in his daughter's eyes. He stood, ready to intervene, but did not stop her. As Elara's fingers brushed the surface of the sphere, it didn't feel solid or gaseous or even like pure energy. It felt like information, like a thought made tangible. A warmth spread from her fingertips, up her arm, and into her chest, a feeling of deep understanding, of profound connection to something ancient and vast. And then, a voice. Not sound heard with her ears, but a voice in her mind, clear as a bell, yet entirely without language. It was a feeling, a concept, a knowing. Child of the stars. Listener, Da. We have traveled far. We seek connection. We seek understanding. You feel our song. You are ready. Indeed. Elara gasped, not in fear but in recognition. It was the silent song, finally given words in her mind. "We have observed your kind. Your curiosity, your wonder. Your capacity for growth. We see a path for you, a way to know more. Why no, a certain coco." The sphere pulsed, and within its glowing core, a miniature image appeared. It was a depiction of Starfall L, but seen from above, as if by the colossal visitor. And then, from the visitor, a shimmering pathway of light extended, directly towards one of Starfall L's unused docking bays. It wasn't a physical bridge, but a tunnel of pure, inviting light, leading into the heart of the immense ship. They invite you. Not to fear. Not to conquer. But to learn. To share. To grow. Q. Ami me sondoliae. Ibe me condebae. Nima me sisolo de pabe. Majdane. Meba daughter dan. Ashandi. Elara looked up at her dad, her eyes shining. "Dad," she whispered. "They want us to come aboard." Her dad's jaw dropped. "Aboard? Elara, that's unheard of. We don't even know what's inside." "They showed us," Elara insisted, pointing to the fading images in her mind, the lingering feelings of peace and wonder. "They showed us their home. They're not dangerous. They're like us, but older, wiser." On the comms, Commander Valerius's voice returned, strained. "The entity is projecting a stable energy corridor towards Docking Bay 7. It appears to be an invitation. A direct link to our systems confirms the pathway is inert, non-harmful, no known energy signatures, but completely stable." There was a long pause. Science Division recommends extreme caution. Diplomatic Corps is advising against direct contact without extensive preparation. But the opportunity is unprecedented. Elara's dad looked from his daughter's trusting, excited face to the glowing sphere, then to the images of the light path in his mind. He was a man of logic, of engineering, of safety protocols. But he was also a man who had always encouraged Elara's curiosity, who had taught her to look up at the stars and dream. And he had felt the peace of that silent song. the wonder of those projected images. "They chose you, Ilara," he said, his voice barely audible. "Why you?" The sphere pulsed again, and the mental voice returned, calmer, deeper. "They, young, are free of preconception. Their minds are open. Their hearts, pure in their seeking. You are a bridge, child. A first touch. Melo. Going. Dad, please," Ilara pleaded, her hand still resting on the sphere, the connection between them palpable. "I want to go. I need to go." Her dad looked at the sphere, then at her. He knew, intuitively, that this was not a moment for rules and regulations. This was a moment for faith, for courage, for humanity's first true step into the wider universe. This was the moment he had always dreamed of, but never truly believed would come. He took a deep breath, and then, with a resolve that surprised even himself, he reached for his comm unit. "Commander Valerius," he stated, his voice now firm. "This is Engineer Kalen. My daughter, Ilara, has established direct nonverbal communication with the entity. It has extended an invitation specifically to her, and by extension to Starfall L. I believe we must accept." A stunned silence followed on the comms. Then Valerius's voice, hesitant. "Engineer Kalen, are you suggesting we send a child?" "I am suggesting," Kalen interrupted, "that the entity chose a child. And I will accompany her. We will be the first. And we will carry the trust of humanity with us." He looked at Ilara, a fierce protectiveness in his eyes, but also an incredible pride. "We will go." Ilara's heart soared. The sphere pulsed brightly, as if in agreement, and then began to drift back towards the module door. "Wait, Dad," Ilara said, a sudden thought striking her. "What about the others? Won't they be scared?" Her dad smiled. A genuine warm smile that reached his eyes. "That's why we go first, sweetie. To show them there's nothing to be afraid of. To show them the wonder." As the sphere led them out of their module and down the silent corridors, the soft light from the colossal visitor outside continued to permeate the station, turning the familiar into something magical. Other crew members, drawn by the strange light, peeked out of their modules, their faces a mixture of apprehension and dawning wonder. They watched Ilara and her dad, guided by the glowing sphere, walk towards Docking Bay 7, towards the shimmering tunnel of light that now connected Starfall to the immense alien vessel. The journey through the station felt like a dream. The usual hum of life support and machinery was muted, replaced by the soft rhythmic pulsing of the light sphere and the anticipation in Ilara's chest. When they reached Docking Bay 7, it was empty, cleared of all cargo and shuttlecraft. The massive bay door, usually a heavy barrier of reinforced metal, was now a translucent veil of the same soft shadowless light that radiated from the visitor. Through it, Ilara could see the shimmering tunnel, a pathway woven from pure starlight, beckoning them forward. Commander Valerius and a small contingent of science and security personnel stood at a respectful distance, their faces etched with a mixture of awe and trepidation. Valerius nodded at Kalen, a silent acknowledgement of the immense responsibility they were undertaking. "Engineer Kalen," Valerius said, his voice low, "will be monitoring your every step. Scanners will be active, though they're still returning inconclusive data on the entity's interior. Be cautious, and good luck." Kalen nodded back, then turned to Ilara. "Ready, sweetie?" he asked, his voice steady despite the enormity of the moment. Ilara didn't answer with words. She simply squeezed his hand, her eyes shining with an uncontainable excitement. The light sphere hovered at the entrance to the shimmering tunnel, waiting. Together, hand in hand, Ilara and her dad stepped through the translucent bay door into the tunnel of light. It wasn't cold, or hot, or even tangible. It felt like walking through pure thought, through a concept rather than a physical space. The tunnel hummed with a gentle energy, the silent song now amplified, resonating through Ilara's entire being. She felt a lightness, as if gravity itself had lessened, and a profound sense of peace. The tunnel was short, surprisingly so. In mere moments, they emerged into a vast, cavernous space. This was not a traditional docking bay, or even a ship's interior as they knew it. It was an environment unto itself, a living, breathing chamber of impossible scale and beauty. The walls shimmered with the same bioluminescent patterns seen on the exterior of the colossal visitor, shifting and swirling in a slow, mesmerizing dance. The air, if it was air, was perfectly temperate and carried a faint, sweet scent, like ozone mixed with blooming flowers. There were no visible lights, no panels, no machinery, no obvious doors or corridors. The entire space seemed organic, grown rather than built, a cathedral of living light. The glowing sphere, their guide, drifted ahead, leading them towards the center of the chamber. As they moved, Ilara noticed other forms, similar to the light beings from the projection, beginning to coalesce from the shimmering walls. They were not solid but fluid, shifting forms of pure light and color, moving with an elegant, almost liquid grace. They surrounded Ilara and her dad, not menacingly, but with a palpable sense of curiosity and welcome. The mental voice returned, gentle and resonant. "Welcome, Kaelin. Welcome, Ilara. You are the first of your kind to step within our folds. You have shown courage. You have shown trust." Ilara felt a sense of belonging, a feeling she'd never experienced so intensely before. She was a small girl from Starfall L, but in this moment she was an emissary, a bridge. At the chamber's center, the floor rose slightly, forming a circular platform. The light beings flowed around it, creating a living halo. As Ilara and her dad stepped onto the platform, the glowing sphere settled gently before them, and its light intensified, showing them something new within its core. It wasn't a map this time, or a series of images. It was a single, intricate symbol, glowing with an inner radiance. It was complex, yet strangely familiar, like a pattern glimpsed in a dream. As Ilara gazed at it, she felt a surge of understanding, a sudden profound insight into its meaning. It wasn't a symbol for a word, but a symbol for a concept, a universal truth. It spoke of connection, of shared consciousness, of the interwoven fabric of all life in the cosmos. And then, the symbol began to expand, projecting outwards from the sphere, filling the entire chamber with its intricate design. As it grew, Ilara felt her mind expand with it, reaching out, touching something vast and ancient. She felt the presence of the light beings around them, not as separate entities, but as parts of a greater whole, a collective consciousness. And for a fleeting moment, she understood. She understood the silent song, the immense beauty, the profound mystery. It was all connected. It was all part of the same grand cosmic dance. Her dad, standing beside her, looked overwhelmed but not afraid. He too seemed to be experiencing something profound, his eyes wide, his breathing shallow. The symbol pulsed, and within its expanding pattern, a new image began to form. It was a faint, shimmering projection of Ilara herself, but not as she was now. It was Ilara, older, surrounded by stars, reaching out, not with a sphere of light, but with a beacon of her own making, connecting worlds. It was a vision, a promise, a glimpse into a future that awaited her, a future intertwined with the very fabric of this encounter. The message was clear, not in words, but in feeling. This was just the beginning. The universe had indeed opened up, and Ilara, the small girl who had listened, was now poised to become a part of its grand symphony. The silent song had found its interpreter, and the stars awaited her. The silent song had found its interpreter, and the stars awaited her. Ilara blinked, the warmth of her bed a sudden, tangible reality against the lingering, shimmering cold of the cosmic vision. The scent of her pillow, the soft hum of the air purifier in her room, all seemed muted, distant. Her heart, however, thrummed with the rhythm of distant stars, a powerful echo of the beacon she had woven into existence. She reached a small hand out, as if to grasp the fading motes of starlight that still danced behind her eyelids. They were gone, but the feeling remained, a blueprint etched onto the very fabric of her soul. "Ilara, everything all right, sweet pea?" Her mother's voice drifted through the door, gentle and concerned. Ilara sat up, pushing aside her favorite quilt, a patchwork of constellations her grandmother had sewn. "Yes, Mama," she called back, her voice a little breathless. "Just dreaming." Her mother chuckled softly. "Big dreams, I imagine. You always have the biggest dreams. Elara smiled faintly, a secret blossoming in her chest. Her mother had no idea how big. The next morning, the world felt different. Colors seemed sharper, sounds richer, as if the vision had recalibrated her senses. She looked at the twinkling star map on her ceiling, usually just a comforting glow, and now saw pathways, connections, the invisible threads of the universe. She drew constantly, filling notebooks with swirling nebulae and intricate diagrams of what she remembered. The alien vessel, not cold and metallic but alive, organic, pulsing with light. And then her own beacon, a construct of pure thought and cosmic energy, connecting to it. Her parents, amused, praised her imagination, never knowing the truth hidden in her childlike scrolls. As the years unfolded, Elara's fascination with the cosmos deepened from a child's wonder to a focused, relentless pursuit. Her small sun-drenched room on the outskirts of Neo-London, with its holographic displays of orbital mechanics and quantum physics, became her sanctuary. Earth, in her time, was a marvel of bio-integrated technology. Buildings shimmered with self-repairing crystalline structures, personal transit pods glided silently along anti-gravity lanes, and global communication flowed through quantum entanglement networks. Yet, for all its advancements, humanity remained isolated. The silent era of space exploration had yielded no definitive proof of extraterrestrial life. This global silence, however, was a personal challenge for Elara. She devoured every book, every simulation, every theoretical paper on astrobiology and xenolinguistics. While her peers were captivated by the latest immersive holofilms or the intricate dance of zero-G sports, Elara was lost in the subtle vibrations of cosmic background radiation, convinced that within the noise, there was a message, a song waiting to be heard. Her memory of the beacon wasn't just a memory. It was a blueprint, a guiding principle. She remembered the eye feeling of connection, the resonance, the specific frequency of her own consciousness reaching out. This wasn't about simply sending a signal. It was about tuning into the universe's own innate symphony. Her breakthrough came during her advanced studies at the Dyson Institute for Interstellar Communications. Dr. Aris Thorne, a grizzled astrophysicist with a penchant for fringe theories and a twinkle in his eye, became her unlikely mentor. He saw in Elara not just brilliance, but an almost preternatural intuition. She wasn't just crunching numbers, she was glistening. Most people try to shout into the void, Elara, Dr. Thorne would often say, gesturing at the vast star-dusted screen of the observation deck. They build bigger antennas, amplify signals hoping to be heard. You seem to be trying to hum. Elara would smile, a private, knowing smile. Sometimes, Dr. Thorne, a hum carries more information than a shout. Her project, initially dismissed as esoteric, was titled Resonant Harmonic Interstellar Projection, RHIP for short. The core idea was radical. Instead of broadcasting a powerful, energy-intensive signal, Elara theorized that an optimal communication method would involve creating a subtle, complex, and resonant pattern within the existing cosmic noise. Like a specific note that, when played, vibrates a distant, perfectly tuned string. She wasn't looking for a radio wave. She was looking for a Wanshangyan. She spent countless hours in the Dyson Institute's Deep Space Communications Lab, a cavernous chamber humming with quantum processors and crystalline conduits. The lab was usually dedicated to mapping distant galaxies or detecting gravitational waves, but Elara repurposed its formidable computational power. She didn't build a new antenna. She built a new interpreter. Her primary tool was not a transmitter, but a harmonic weaver, a device of her own design, its core a shimmering, multi-layered lattice of exotic matter and entangled particles. It wasn't meant to send a signal in the traditional sense, but to subtly modulate in the quantum foam of spacetime, creating a localized resonant field. Years blurred into a kaleidoscope of data streams, late-night caffeine infusions, and moments of quiet despair followed by sudden exhilarating epiphanies. She coded algorithms that mimicked the intricate patterns of natural phenomena, the spiral arms of galaxies, the rhythmic pulses of pulsars, the chaotic elegance of quantum fluctuations. She believed that any intelligence advanced enough to travel the stars would understand the universal language of physics and mathematics, expressed not as symbols, but as fundamental vibrational truths. She sought to recreate the yay-I feeling of the beacon, the pure, unadulterated intent of connection, translated into a physical, though subtle, manifestation. One frigid night, as a rare aurora borealis painted the skies above Neo-London in shimmering greens and purples, Ilara sat alone in the lab. Dr. Thorne had long since retired, leaving her with a final encouraging pat on the shoulder. "Don't burn yourself out, Ilara. The stars aren't going anywhere." But Ilara felt them calling, more urgently than ever. She had been refining her harmonic weaver for weeks, pushing its capabilities, trying to achieve the precise resonant frequency she remembered from her childhood vision. She wore a neural interface, a slender band that wrapped around her forehead, allowing her to interact with the weaver's complex parameters with her thoughts, to weigh feeling the subtle shifts in its energy field. "Almost there," she murmured, her voice barely a whisper in the vast room. "Just a little more." She felt a familiar hum begin to build, not from the weaver itself but deep within her. It was the silent song, louder than it had ever been since that night in her childhood bedroom. It was a resonance, a deep, vibrational memory that she was now translating into tangible energy. Her hands flew across the holographic interface, adjusting, fine-tuning, guided by an intuition that transcended logic. She was not just operating a machine. She was playing it, conducting a cosmic symphony with her own consciousness as the button. The harmonic weaver began to glow, not with a harsh artificial light, but with an ethereal, soft luminescence that pulsed in sync with her heart. The delicate lattice within shimmered, its entangled particles stretching, connecting, reaching. On the main display, usually filled with chaotic cosmic noise, a single, elegant waveform began to emerge. It wasn't a powerful signal, not a shout, but a sustained, intricate eye-patterning. It was the hum. And then, it happened. The waveform on the screen didn't just exist, it began to was changing. It wasn't a random fluctuation or a system anomaly. It was a response. A subtle rhythmic alteration of the pattern, a mirror image appearing in the background cosmic radiation data that only Ilara's algorithms and her profound intuition could detect. It was faint, almost imperceptible, but it was there. The hum was being hummed back. Tears welled in Ilara's eyes, blurring the display. Her breath caught in her throat. After decades of silence, after years of tireless work, and the quiet skepticism of her peers, after a lifetime of carrying a secret dream, the universe had finally whispered back. It wasn't a full conversation, not yet. It was a single, gentle chord, an acknowledgement across the vastness. It was the first echo of the silent song returned. The vision of the beacon, the connection of worlds, flickered through her mind with renewed clarity. This was it. This was the beginning. She had found the tuning fork. Now, she had to play the full melody. The universe had confirmed its presence, extended a tentative hand across the void. And Ilara, the girl who had listened, now knew, with absolute certainty, that she was meant to answer. Her journey had only just begun. A single, hopeful hum echoing across the boundless night. Her journey had only just begun. A single, hopeful hum echoing across the boundless night. Ilara's breath hitched, a small, soundless gasp in the quiet of her room. The resonance faded, leaving behind not emptiness, but a profound sense of fullness. Her fingers, still tingling, slowly uncurled from the polished obsidian-like surface of the crystalline resonator she had painstakingly crafted from scavenged quantum computing components and ancient, rediscovered resonant metals. It wasn't just a device. It was an extension of her own listening heart, a physical manifestation of her yearning. She knew, with the certainty of a star fixed in its orbit, that she couldn't keep this to herself. The universe had whispered, and now humanity needed to whisper back. But, Ahavi? How did one tell the world that the stars were not just distant lights but waiting voices? Her parents, Dr. Aris and Dr. Lena Vance, were brilliant xenolinguists, dedicating their lives to decoding forgotten human languages, not alien ones. They believed in empirical data, in peer-reviewed journals, in the slow meticulous crawl of scientific discovery. A cosmic hum, a feeling in her bones, might not pass muster. Yet, they were also her parents, and they had always fostered her boundless curiosity. The next morning, Ilara found her mother in the sun-drenched hydroponics lab, tending to a vibrant wall of bioluminescent algae that powered their home. "Mom," Elara began, her voice a little shaky, I think I found something." Lena, her dark hair pulled back in a practical bun, turned, a gentle smile on her face. "Something new in your listening device, sweetie? More cosmic background radiation?" Her mother knew about Elara's hobby, humoring her with spare parts and quiet encouragement, never quite understanding the depth of her daughter's quest. Elara took a deep breath. "More than that. I think I made contact with something out there." Lena's smile wavered, replaced by a flicker of concern. "Contact, darling? What kind of contact?" It took hours. Elara, with the resonator in her hand, explained the subtle shifts in cosmic resonance, the intricate patterns she had begun to discern, the distinct, intelligent response she had received. She described the vision, the swirling nebulae, the impossible architectures, the sense of connection. Her father joined them, his initial skepticism palpable, his questions precise and probing. "Show us," Eris finally said, his brow furrowed, "the device, and explain the principles." Elara led them to her room, her sanctuary. She carefully placed the resonator on her workbench, connecting it to her modified stellar observation console. She explained the theory of universal harmonics, how every particle, every wave, every galaxy held a unique frequency, and how sometimes these frequencies could align, creating a bridge. She showed them the faint, almost imperceptible energy readings, the subtle gravitational fluctuations her instruments, crude as they were, had picked up. She activated the resonator, and for a fleeting moment, a faint, almost subliminal hum filled the room, a warmth radiating from the crystalline core. Her parents exchanged a look. It wasn't proof, not yet, but it was enough to pique their scientific curiosity, enough to see the intense, unwavering conviction in their daughter's eyes. They had taught her to question everything, but also to trust her instincts. This is extraordinary, Elara," Iris said, his voice hushed. "If even a fraction of what you're sensing is true, it changes everything." Over the next few months, their apartment transformed into a miniature research facility. Iris, with his knack for pattern recognition, helped Elara refine her analytical algorithms, searching for mathematical fingerprints within the resonant data. Lena, with her deep understanding of communication and meaning, began to theorize about the nature of the melody, not just a signal, but perhaps an exchange of fundamental concepts, emotions. The first major breakthrough came when Eris identified a repeating, complex prime number sequence embedded within the resonant hum Elara had picked up. It was too intricate, too specific to be random cosmic noise. It was a signature. "A calling card," Lena whispered, tears in her eyes, from a universal listener. Now, the challenge shifted from listening to answering. Elara's resonator was a receiver, a delicate ear. To play the full melody, they needed a transmitter, a voice capable of echoing across light years. The energy requirements were immense, the technical hurdles staggering. Their breakthrough, however, wasn't just scientific, it was social. Elara, with her parents' support, presented her findings to the Global Interstellar Council, GHC, a cautious bureaucratic body usually concerned with orbital traffic and asteroid mining. Her presentation, filled with raw data and the compelling, almost spiritual conviction of a girl who had truly glistened, slowly chipped away at their skepticism. The prime number sequence was the undeniable proof. Dr. Anya Sharma, head of the GIC's Theoretical Physics Division, was initially dismissive. But after hours of reviewing Elara's data and witnessing the faint hum from the prototype resonator, her scientific curiosity was ignited. Sharma, a stern woman with eyes that missed nothing, became Elara's fiercest advocate. "This isn't just a signal," Sharma declared to the GIC board. "It's an invitation. And humanity has a moral imperative to respond." With GIC backing, a global effort began. A sprawling international team of scientists, engineers and linguists converged on a remote, geologically stable plateau in the Andes, chosen for its minimal atmospheric interference and dark skies. They began constructing Project Echo, a massive, next-generation deep space communication array. It wasn't a dish. It was a vast, crystalline lattice, hundreds of meters across, designed to generate and focus a universal harmonic frequency, a pure, resonant tone that could travel unimpeded through the cosmos. Its core was a scaled-up version of Elara's original resonator, now powered by a fusion reactor and cooled by superconductive quantum fluids. Elara, though still a teenager, became the project's heart. She worked tirelessly, translating her intuitive understanding of the hum into tangible engineering specifications. She collaborated with the lead physicists on frequency modulation, with the cryptographers on encoding a universal message, and with her mother on the very contentee of that message. "What do we say to the universe, Elara?" Lena asked one evening as they overlooked the shimmering construction site, a marvel of human ingenuity against the starlit sky. "How do we encapsulate our hopes, our fears, our very essence, into a single elegant melody?" Elara gazed at the stars, feeling the familiar, comforting hum deep within her. "We tell them we listened. We tell them we're here. And we ask them to keep playing." The message they designed was multi-layered. It began with the universal language of mathematics, prime numbers, the value of pi, representations of fundamental physical constants. Then it transitioned to simple, elegant images: a hydrogen atom, a DNA double helix, a human face, Earth rotating, a hand reaching out. Finally, it included a series of modulated tones, a gentle, rising melody that mirrored the feeling Elara had first experienced, a melody designed to evoke curiosity, peace, and shared wonder. It was, in essence, a cosmic lullaby. Years passed. Elara grew from a curious girl into a confident young woman, her dark hair often streaked with grease from working on the array, her eyes still holding that deep, unwavering spark of wonder. Project Echo became her life, her purpose. The construction was arduous, fraught with technical challenges and moments of despair. But the vision of the beacon, the promise of connection, always pulled them forward. Finally, the day arrived. The crystalline lattice pulsed with contained energy, humming with a low, potent thrum that vibrated through the very bedrock. Scientists and dignitaries from across the globe gathered, their faces a mixture of awe and trepidation. Elara, now 20, stood at the central console, her parents beside her, Dr. Sharma offering a reassuring nod. "Are you ready, Elara?" Sharma asked, her voice quiet but firm. Elara placed her hand on the smooth, cool surface of the console. She closed her eyes, taking a deep breath, feeling the universal hum resonate within her. This wasn't just science, it was an act of profound faith. "Ready," she whispered. With a final command, she initiated the sequence. The colossal array began to glow, a soft, ethereal azure light spreading across the landscape. The hum intensified, no longer just a vibration but a sound, a deep, resonant chord that seemed to emanate from the very air, from the ground beneath their feet, from the distant stars themselves. It wasn't loud but pervasive, a gentle pressure against the eardrums, a warmth in the chest. The light pulsed, growing brighter, then coalesced into a focused beam, not visible to the naked eye but felt. It was a pure, unadulterated wave of universal harmony, carrying humanity's first deliberate greeting into the boundless void. It ascended, a silent, shimmering pillar of pure intent, piercing the atmosphere and stretching towards the distant star system from which the original hum had emanated. A collective gasp swept through the observers. Tears streamed down Lena's face. Aris squeezed Elara's shoulder, his eyes wide with wonder. The transmission lasted for an hour, a continuous, gentle outpouring of human hope. When it finally concluded, the array slowly dimmed, the resonant hum fading back into the quiet thrum of machinery. An expectant silence fell over the plateau, broken only by the soft whisper of the wind. Now, they waited. The star system they had targeted was over 50 light-years away. It would take more than 5 decades for their message to reach its destination, and another 5 for any reply to return. A century. Most of the people present would not live to see the answer. Elara herself would be an old woman. Yet, there was no despair. Only a profound sense of accomplishment, a quiet triumph. They had taken the first step. They had sent the melody. Years turned into decades. Elara continued her work at Project Echo, now serving as its director. She mentored new generations of listeners, teaching them to discern the subtle nuances of cosmic resonance, to interpret the ever-present, faint background hum of the universe. She became a living legend, the girl who had heard the stars. Her parents lived long, fulfilling lives, seeing the profound impact of their daughter's work. They often sat with Alara, looking at the distant stars, sharing memories of that fateful day. As Alara grew older, her body might have slowed, but her mind remained as sharp and curious as ever. Her connection to the universal hum deepened, becoming a constant, comforting presence. She often sat alone in the array's control room, her hand resting on a small, polished replica of her original crystalline resonator, feeling the gentle pulse of the cosmos. Then, one quiet evening, nearly a century after the first transmission, something shifted. Alara, now 92, was dozing in her chair, the soft glow of the console reflecting on her wrinkled face. Suddenly, the console's primary resonance indicators flared, not with random noise, but with a precise, synchronized pattern. The array itself began to hum, a familiar, yet entirely new, melody. Her eyes snapped open. Her heart, old but strong, beat with a rhythm she hadn't felt since her youth. This wasn't just a response to their initial beacon, it was a Yi dialogue. The monitors displayed a complex, intricate waveform, too ordered, too beautiful, to be natural. And then, projected onto the main screen, a series of images began to form. They were abstract at first, swirling patterns of light and color, reminiscent of nebulae, yet impossibly geometric. Then they resolved into structures. Vast, living architectures, floating cities of light within gas giants, delicate, fractal-like organisms pulsing with inner luminescence. There were beings too, not humanoid, but graceful and fluid, composed of shimmering energy, moving with an effortless elegance that defied earthly physics. They weren't just showing their world, they were showing their essence in. And then, the final image. A hand, not human, but formed of pure light, reaching out across a cosmic void. And within its palm, a tiny, glowing sphere, a perfect miniature representation of Earth. The message was clear. I always saw you. We heard you. We understand. You are not alone. And we too are listening. Wendell, Maravillo. Tears streamed down Alara's face, tracing paths through the wrinkles of a lifetime. She wasn't alone in the control room for long. Alarms had sounded, and the next generation of listeners, the young scientists she had trained, rushed in, their faces alight with disbelief and wonder. It's them, one young scientist, a girl named Lyra, with eyes as bright as Alara's had once been, whispered. They answered. Alara could only nod, a profound, serene smile gracing her lips. The melody had returned, richer, more complex, infused with the wisdom of another civilization. It was an echo, a harmony, a promise. She had played the full melody, and the universe had sung back. In the days and weeks that followed, the world erupted in a frenzy of hope and excitement. Humanity had found its place in a grander cosmic choir. Detailed analysis of the returned message revealed not just images, but vast stores of knowledge, shared across the light years in a universal language of resonance. Technologies, philosophies, art, a tapestry of an alien civilization, offered freely. Alara, now a sage elder, watched it all unfold from her quiet corner, her heart full. She had listened to the universe when no one else would, and in doing so, she had opened a door for all of humanity. One night, Lyra found Alara sitting by the array, looking up at the stars. Grand Director, Lyra said softly, using the affectionate title given to her, what do you think they'll ask us to do next? Alara smiled, her gaze fixed on a distant shimmering star that was now a known address. They won't ask us to do anything, dear Lyra. They'll ask us to keep listening, to keep learning, to keep singing our own unique song into the boundless night. She closed her eyes, and for a moment, the universal hum, the melody of connection, filled her entirely. It was a lullaby of infinite possibilities, a comforting promise that the universe was not empty, but teeming with life, with wonder, with other listeners just waiting to hear your hum. And as Alara drifted off into a peaceful sleep, she knew that humanity's journey, truly, had only just begun. The universe was still full of songs yet to be sung, and ears waiting to hear them.